Hello, my name is Chris Muller, and in this video I would like to show how I update my SqueakMap entries. A new release of Squeak is coming out, and every time that happens, package maintainers need to test their applications in the new version of Squeak, make sure they work, and once they do, go through a little tedious manual effort to add an entry to the SqueakMap entry. So I'm gonna demonstrate that for actually an older version of Squeak, which was the 64-bit version of the 5.1 release. The 5.1 release was a 32-bit release, but right after the release, we immediately created an alpha version of the image that was converted to 64-bit, and that became the new baseline for the new release, which it will be a 64-bit release. So I want to have a 64-bit version of 5.1 for my packages that does not include any of the changes since in the latest development cycle. And then I'm going to create new ones that do after this, but I want to have one for every step of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a SqueakMap catalog, and we have to turn off the filter. It's important. Right now we're in trunk, so there is never going to be anything list in the trunk image showing here. You always have to turn off the filter to see anything but the things that are not, quote, safely available. Safely meaning they're not guaranteed to work. So it's very important in SqueakMap to maintain quality, to specify hard-coded versions so that when someone goes to a specific version of Squeak to load specific version of the code, it will always work until the end of time, and they can at least go from there in terms of getting it to a later version of Squeak, a current version of Squeak. They have something, a working demonstration that works. So what's the package I want to update? It's the serializer. I think that's the one that's not updated yet. Oh yes, it is. I did do 1.61. Okay, so this one, 1.6, is for Squeak 5.1. 1.61 is for the 64-bit version of the Squeak 5.1 release, aka 6.0 Alpha 16.897. This is the beginning of the development cycle prior to the Squeak 5.2 release, or 6.0, depending on what we call it. So the packages which depend on serializer, and I'll show you just what I did to do this. Basically, I edited this release, and I created a new, well, here, let's just do it. Sorry, we got to do it anyway. So for client server, which is right there above it, okay, here's 1.8. It was for the 5.1 release. I want to create a 1.81, which is going to utilize this 1.61. So you have one change down in the lower level of your package structure, and it cascades all the way up. You got to create new entries all the way for the packages that the dependent packages. So I'm going to create new release. It says create a new release based on the selected item, and for that it gives you the old script. And so in this case I want, so we still have an issue with the halos, 1.61, and I suppose I could look if there's a newer version of this package. And then what about these packages here? Client server, is this loaded right now? I don't think so. Let me open up. No. So let me go ahead and load this. I'm going to install. I think I really just want the latest code. Yeah, I think that will work because nothing's really changed enough. So we'll install the head version of MA Client Server, and then we'll make sure that we're up to date on the packages. I already know I'm not, so I've already gone through all the testing. You would always want to test and make sure that it works. Before making the SqueakMap entry. Okay, so now I'm going to open a Monticello browser and look at, I'm going to add a directory with subdirectory. I know that I have all my latest, where I have it in MC, right there. So it will highlight in bold anything that's not up to date. So yeah, there's one more of this. Client server core. Okay, yeah, that was a performance fix, so we definitely want that. Okay, I don't see anything else in bold. Nothing else isn't loaded, so that was the only one. Client server core 283. So we want to change that here. Go ahead and bring this up. And then client server tester is still at 180. Oh, well, I might want to check that out. Client server tester 170, still the top one, 170, 170. Okay, so we're good on that, and I think that's it. I don't know if we really need to update this. I think we've used very little of it, so this doesn't really matter at this time, so I'm just going to leave it for the sake of the video. You could go seek out the latest version, test it with it, and try it out. Okay, so then I just specify the name of this version. It's 1.81, and I think this was fixed, but hit Alt S to just save that field, and then the notes about this are going to be the same as the notes for this, which is version. Okay, I don't know why that's. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Some kind of formatting anomaly there. This is actually very stable, and this is Squeak 5.1, and then my password, which I don't really want you to see. Don't look at that. Save. Okay, it's saving it. Sorry, I clicked the save button, which is right next to the password. I couldn't drag it back up, otherwise you would see it. Okay, so that's done. We now have the new version of MA Client Server out there. If we hit update, it should appear. The server on SqueakMap is a little squirrely, so it is going to be updated, but sometimes the updates don't always. Okay, this time it looks like it worked. So client server 1.81, and that's it. So that, with me explaining it and everything, you can see how hard that was. It was excruciating. It was like Lewis and Clark forging out Manifest Destiny. That's how hard that was. Okay, sorry for the sarcasm.